What is up, Internet? In this video, we're going to do something a little different. I'll be showing you how to use AI to help create a program to calculate the min, max, average, and sum of a collection of points. And this program is going to automatically run at a given interval. All right, so in this demonstration, I'm going to be using NVIDIA's Chat with RTX. So if you're not familiar with it, it's an offline AI chatbot. So you install it on your computer locally instead of like most chatbots where they run in the cloud. And it requires a NVIDIA RTX graphics card. All right, so with the chatbot fired up, I'm going to put in a request and I should be getting back some Java code. All right, there we go. So we've got a program here. If I just drop this into Niagara, it's definitely not going to work just right out of the gate. So we're going to have to tailor this to what we need. But most of it, yeah, we can use. Okay, so jumping over in Niagara, if we go into our program palette, there's a templates folder. And under templates, there is a timer object. Drag and drop that out. If we go into the property sheet, we see we have an execute period. And if we go into the code editor, we see we have some code here. So let me clean this up and I will explain how this works. Okay, so we have a update timer method here. And when the station starts, we call this method to run. And within this method, there is a bprogram.execute. So basically that fires off this onExecute method. So what's going on here is when the station starts, we update the timer. And then from then on out, the timer calls this onExecute method to run. So it calls itself. And then on stop, when the station stops, if the ticket is not null, that means if it's currently running, we're going to cancel the ticket and stop it. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I want to put a minimum time on this execute period slot. Go to the facets editor. I'm going to add a minimum. And the type is Baja Rel time, which is relative time. And I'm going to set that to 5 seconds. Based on how complex this program is, it could be very costly to run at very small intervals. So I want to try to put a minimum in there to keep it from running too often. All right, next I need to add some slots. So the first one I'm going to add will be a point query. It's going to be a Baja ord. We're going to do a summary on it. Next we'll do a status numeric, and it's going to be called min. We're going to do read only and summary on that one. We're going to have a max. Then we're going to have an average. Then we're going to have a sum. So I want to create a class where I create an instance of the class and feed it a query, and it will calculate the min, max, average, and sum, and then update my slots. Okay, so I'm going to define my class and call it calculator. We'll add some fields in here. We're going to have one for our query. We're going to have one for sum. We're going to have one for min and max and average. And then this integer called count is going to operate a for loop. Okay, this is going to be my constructor. So when I create this object, I'm going to have to pass it a parameter, which is going to be a query from my query slot. And then that in turn is going to apply that query to my property up here. And last, I'm going to create a method called calculate. And this is where all the math will be done. Okay, down at the bottom, I'm going to paste in my code from the chat with RTX. First off, I'm not going to need these two lines here. So I'm going to create a list, and I'm going to populate the list with values that I get out of my query. Okay, so this line right here, I'm going to have to get rid of. These are just some pseudo numbers that were put in there. But in Java 8, which is what Niagara runs on, the list of operation is not in there. This is for Java 9 and above. So I'm going to get rid of this. And I don't need these print statements here. Okay, so up in my calculate method, I'm going to initialize or create a new instance of a list. And my query is going to be going out looking for B numeric writable points. So I'm going to initialize an empty B numeric writable here. And I'm going to create a table and resolve it. And then I'm going to use a table cursor to go through it and grab each point and get the value from it. Okay, as my while loop is running, my point variable right here is going to be equal to the cursor.get. But I'm going to do a quality check on the point. So if the point is disabled or in fault, it's not going to do us any good. It's going to mess up our average. our min and max, and we're just going to mess up our data. So if the point is not disabled or if the point is not in fault, then we'll return a value. And of course, I'm getting the out value, and then I'm calling my list, and I'm using the add method to add each value to the list. Okay, this is a shorthand for loop. So basically, number represents the current value in the list as it goes down the list. Or then we're going to calculate the value and assign it to our parameters up here. Then outside the for loop, we're going to do the average separate. Okay, so now all we need to do is go in and do our imports. So I'm going to need a B numeric writable, which is in the control palette. And I'm going to need BI table, which is in the Baha module. And lastly, when onExecute gets called, I'm going to create a new object, and I'm going to pass it my query using this getQuery method. And then once that's created, I'll call calculator.calculate. So if we go into our property sheet here, I've got some writable points here in this folder. And I'm going to actually look for a specific type, which is numeric writable. All right, it finds my points here. Down here at the bottom, we're going to add in our set values for our slots. So we're going to set the sum, the min, the max, and the average. And there we go. So if we change some of these values around, it should reflect here. And that is it. So we took AI generated code and tailored it to what we needed. It wasn't very complex, but it definitely could save some time. So that's all for this one. We'll see you on the next one.